It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Monday, September 23rd. Your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that thinks the Flyers did okay in their first preseason game.
It's preseason.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here as always with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. We are at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. You can find us over on YouTube or on the SiriusXM app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, I do want to make sure we're being honest about things. So I want to give us until tomorrow after the Montreal game to give kind of a gut check as to where we are, overall. But I gotta say, there were a lot of really good things to take away from this first preseason game against the Washington Capitals. And I think it came from some really interesting places, maybe unexpected. Obviously, everybody's eyes were on Matvei Michkov in his first game. He was on the line with Morgan Frost and Owen Tippett as expected, based on what they'd been doing in camp.
Yeah.
But really, I think the highlight of the game was the Luchanko line with Brink and Farabee.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely did great. Look, I saw the lineup for Washington. I didn't see the whole game, obviously, but it's an AHL team basically. But hey,
Oh, sure.
yeah, but still, to do well, I'm not going to take away from that because they could have not done well, and then we'd be bitching about that. So yeah, I think this is good for Jett, and I think he'll get one or two more games, and then he'll go back. But this will help him fuel him for the season.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, looking to what we talked about on the Friday show in terms of what we wanted or what we expected out of this first game. So we wanted Fedotov in net. We got him for 2 periods, and he did really well overall. We can talk more about that. We asked whether it would make more sense to put Michkov with prospects like Luchanko that he had played with in the rookie games versus the vets. I think we were kind of cool either way, but you had in particular said maybe with Luchanko or the prospects would be better. That didn't go that way. I I don't think it mattered, to be honest, in this game.
No, I think in the end result it didn't. So it's fine. I mean, whoever they're going to get experience with, they're going to get experience with, and that's fine. I mean, eventually they'll all be teammates anyhow. So I think it's
Yep.
good, and it's nice to show well, and it's really good for Jett.
Yeah, and we kind of predicted there'd be like one and a half main forward lines and like three defensemen from the regular squad. We got our second pairing as the main defensive pairing with Sealer and Drysdale in this one. I want to talk more about the defensive side of things in a little bit, but one of the things we had talked about that this team needed to do was get more net front presence and get net front goals. And we got a good result on that front in this game. All the Flyers goals were pretty close up and net front, all six of
Yeah.
them. And so I was really pleased with that aspect of the game overall.
Yeah, at least they went to the net. Like that's the big thing. Now,
Mhm.
as it gets deeper in preseason, if they play some tougher teams or some guys who are a little better on D, we'll see if they still go to the net. But the fact that they're doing it is a good sign for sure.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things we look out for in a Flyers preseason game is, are they too gassed from training camp? I would say no in this one. Now we're one game in, but I also watched them at training camp for 2 days this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and those skates they did at the end of each session were absolutely brutal. So I expect them to look a little more tired as the preseason goes on.
But they had a year to mentally be ready for that, you know what I mean? Like, they knew last year was a shock, they didn't know what to expect. This year they knew. So they knew this whole year they could get ready for that, and a lot of teams were doing that. The Islanders were doing that. I saw at least 4 or 5 teams doing it as hard as torts. So I think now, like, most of the modern NHLers are kinda used to it. So I don't think it's that
Yeah, I
big of a
mean,
shock anymore, honestly.
they looked fine in this game. I didn't see
Yeah.
them slow down very much in the third period.
Yeah,
So I
these
thought,
guys are in such good shape. I mean, it's incredible, really, if you think about it.
yeah, I think another interesting aspect of this game was like looking at like the shots and the chances for each of the teams. Like as you said, the Caps had a pretty AHL heavy lineup out there and they actually outchanced the Flyers 35 to 20, but the Flyers were up in the high danger chances 14 to 10. And that just shows like the difference in skill, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and there was a big skill gap for Washington compared to the Flyers in this game, like, on the ice. No question about it. So I think that part, bore out, and, uh, it's good that Fedotov is getting his feet wet in these games. It's gonna help him,
Yeah.
and, yeah, it's good that, Michkov had a good showing. I don't love that he had 0 shots, I'll be honest on that, but that's okay. I mean, he's again, there's a big adjustment coming. Like, it's good that he's actually getting some, like, easier games at the beginning, I think.
I think so too. And I think, talking a little bit about Mitchkov and his game related to special teams, I
Mhm.
think, we saw the Flyers get multiple power play goals in this game. Now, again, against a slightly weaker team. However, you saw the power play unit creativity that we saw in camp
Uh-huh.
um, with Mitchkov there, and more importantly, I to some degree, Jamie Drysdale. Like Jamie
Mhm.
Drysdale looks good. He looks
Yeah.
like together, he looks like himself. And that has helped so much on what we've seen from power play drills they've done. And now it's translated into an albeit early preseason game, but we see what he can do.
No, there's no question. Drysdale's great on the power play. My big thing is, hey, let's see if they miss a few times, how they react to that. Like, right now, it's going good, and that's good. If it keeps going good, hey, good for them. But sometimes it's good to see now if they have some adversity with it, how they handle that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think on the Mitchkov side of things, clearly for him, this game was about passing because his passes were like textbook Mitchkov,
Mhm.
just really smart, and especially on the power play. You saw him thinking creatively, and that's the combo of him and Drysdale together
Mhm.
is what made the unit really exciting to watch. And you could just see both of them thinking, both of them great on their skates, and that added to the chances for like the other people on the unit just kind of benefited from them.
Right. Well, that they're going to like, he's a pretty unselfish player, so they're going to benefit that way, and that's good. I mean, that there's a trickle down effect with that for the team, so I think that's a real positive.
Yeah, you saw his creativity on like the Frost first goal,
Yeah.
pulling it around back to go for Frost to go back door.
Yeah.
Like that was just like a behind the back kind of pass. That was really great. And then his second assist was a fantastic feed through traffic to get to Farabee for a first attempt, and then Frost punched it in eventually.
Right.
But again, just the vision on that play and the placement of the puck. Farabee wasn't quite ready to receive that. It kind of bounced off him a little, hence like the not great shot he got. But there was a rebound attempt, and Frost was right there. So I just think like what Mitchkov is bringing to the table is helping other people's game.
Yeah, no question. I mean, we said before he came here that Frost is really the only playmaking type that could play with him. Well, he's playing with him. That
Hmm.
makes sense. But I think they're
Yeah.
gonna have to move Tippett off that line because Tippett, when he's trying to create, it's not gonna work with those 2. They don't work that way. They need someone to dig in the corners and get them the puck, not someone who's gonna take the puck the length of the ice and then let them get into position if he misses. That's not the way their game works.
Yeah, and I think that's what's gonna be interesting to watch because obviously, I mean, not obviously, but most likely Jett Luchanko is going back to junior, right? As
He's
much
going
as
back, yeah.
As much as we love watching him play right now and he's having some really great success, he's
Hmm.
going back.
Yeah.
So is Farabee gonna get an opportunity on that line with Frost and Michkov? Because the way he looks now, he's looking pretty good, like he might earn a shot at that.
Yeah, he should. I mean, and but the thing is, again, with the way John is, like if Farabee's with them and he's not doing what he wants, does that mean he's going to move him off? Like to me, you just got to leave them on the line and leave them alone. But John a lot of times doesn't do that. So that'll be the interesting thing is to see if that happens. Can they
Like
just
the
leave them on there?
evolution.
Yeah, just leave it on there and leave them. Like don't start tinkering. But we'll see.
Yeah, I just think there's some really interesting options out there, and all of them are good.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I am looking forward to seeing all these different combinations as the preseason progresses and more bets get added to the roster each night. I want to talk more about the game as well as some key takeaways from camp, and we'll get to that coming up next.
PrizePick is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks invented the flex pay, which means you could still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the PrizePick app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNHL on PrizePicks to get 50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy because you can avoid all the busy work. I use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get jobs more visibility at indeed.com/locked on. Just go to indeed.com/locked on right now to support our show, saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Flyers. That's indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Tomorrow's show, we will talk about the game against Montreal and then give kind of a gut check look at where we are in training camp so far. And going back to this game a little bit, as along with what we've seen in training camp, you know, Bobby Brink was obviously, I can't believe we haven't mentioned his name yet uh, a lot, just because he was pretty much the highlight of that game.
Hmm.
You know, his second goal, his second backhand after this incredible drop pass sequence, really, I think showed what he was trying to prove. Like at training camp, the post skate availability, he said specifically that he wanted to embrace a two-way role and keep producing at the same time. And that's what he did in this game.
Hmm.
Exactly the mission he set out to do. He had 5 shots on goal himself in the game. And I just think that, he really understands what his assignment is and he's going for it.
Yeah, he's got to do that all the way through camp. His only problem is Ali Lixell is going to do it too, and he's going to be pushing him for his job, like he is. Like that's going
Yeah,
to be the
I
battle.
know. And the thing is, Lixell, I think, was interesting because he had a penalty in the game, but he made up for it with the
Yeah.
goal. And I think that was a really good thing for Lixell to show. But I do really think, especially given what Brink said specifically in camp. what his personal goals were. I think he's like really living them out, and I think that's important for him. It's important for Torts to see that because that's what they want out of him. So that was good.
Mhm.
Joel Farabee again, a goal, 3 assists on the night. He benefited a lot from being on that line with Luchanko and Brink. Luchanko, excellent two-way game, was really strong defensively, really interfered with some of the Caps players' ability to just make anything happen. And I think really the defensive side of his game, despite the fact that he was like, he had 2 assists, one on each of the Brink goals. I think his defensive game was almost more impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that shows that, he's a little advanced, and that's good. I think that's really important. I'm not shocked that he did well. I mean, Jett Luchanko's a really good player. I I'm not shocked Farabee did well. I didn't want the Flyers to trade Farabee. I thought Torts did him a disservice towards the end of the season last year, and I think it hurt the team having him on the fourth line. You were not getting the ability that you could get out of him. So, yeah, he's also a year out from the injury, and that's from the surgery and all that, a full you know year and change. So that's good. And I think Joel Farabee's a terrific player. Like I was never down on him, so I'm not shocked at what Joel Farabee can do.
I want to talk about the blue line some more. We had that Sealer Drysdale pairing that I mentioned with Jamie Drysdale just having a really strong game. But the other two pairings, Emil Andre and Helge Grans, and then Adam Ginning with Spencer Gill. I think all three pairings had a really solid game. I think they all played their role really well. The Jinning Gill pairing was more defensively oriented. Andre
Hmm.
and Grans were more offensively oriented
Hmm.
in their play. But I really feel good about all three pairings, which is, I think, an important thing. Like you want your blue line depth to gain this kind of experience.
Yeah, it's really good experience for. I mean, look, Gronz doesn't need experience; he needs opportunity, and I don't know if he's going
Mhm.
to
But
get
I
it.
think he's getting it. I think he's getting it, and I think people are noticing it. He looks really good in camp
Well, he's
as
getting
well.
it in these games, but is he going to get it in the regular season? Because again, he has ability. Like so does Andre, so does Adder, so
Mhm.
does Yinning. So maybe they should play 10 defensemen, and then maybe they'll all get to play. Like this
I'm
is the
saying
problem.
that Grunz looks good in the skates in training
Yeah.
camp as
No,
well,
I
and he's
know.
standing out.
Listen,
Like, I think people are
I think
noticing.
he yes, I think they're noticing because they didn't watch him in Lehigh. I think he was good at times in Lehigh too, but I also think he was kind of misused last year in Lehigh. Like there's
Yes,
talent there. Like there's
absolutely.
and this
There's
is,
some of that.
so I think that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and then with Jennings and Gill, Jennings blocked 5 shots,
Yeah.
and got some second unit penalty kill time, and he looked really strong there, as well. The one interesting thing to me was Rodrigo Abols. Like, he didn't stand out to me massively, but he did get a lot of penalty kill time, which
Mhm.
was good because that's part of the reason why
Yeah, that's a
they
big thing
brought
he
him
does.
in. And,
I think there's
I
an
just
adjustment for him. Remember, he's never played
Mhm.
North America. So we
Yeah,
have
I
to
do think so.
yeah,
I think so. He's just not, like, jumping out at me right away, but I can
right.
see why they signed him based
Oh,
on
sure.
how he presents himself. I really was curious about his faceoff stats, which he was 11-4 on faceoffs, but he did not get the big matchups, so it's
Right.
hard to, like,
But he is pretty
evaluate
good
that
at 'em,
right
like,
now.
even in the world championships and things like that, he was good at it. So
Mhm.
I expect him this is why, uh, I think there's a chance he could play 4C, especially if they're gonna put Paling on
Yeah.
3C, but we'll see, that's down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that's like a put a pin in it
Yeah,
conversation
exactly.
about
Yeah,
Abels. But just because he was a new guy brought in for a reason, feel
right.
like yeah, I have to mention him. As far as the goaltending goes, Fedotov I think did really well in this game. You look at the 2 goals that the Caps got in this game. One of them was Cristal, who just has tremendous skill, and he
He
maneuvered
does.
around Bolton and Rick Gardner, so that does not bother me at all that
Well,
he
I mean, it shouldn't bother you. The hype for Bolton online is ridiculous. Like, it's just
Oh, he's just
let's.
fun.
I know, but let's
Honestly,
calm down. It's
no,
fine.
I know. He's a fun guy that I'm going to enjoy tremendously on the Phantoms, and
Yes,
that's
that's
kinda
where he's
where I
going.
leave that. Yeah,
Exactly.
and Brett
Yeah.
Gardner, I think, is like that guy too. He's a
Yeah.
really good Phantom and is a
Yeah.
good emergency call up, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just but knowing what Andrew Cristall is like as a player, like the
Right.
fact
He's
that he
getting closer
maneuvered.
to being a star player. That's the thing.
Yeah, that is the thing, and of course, Miroshnichenko scored the other goal. It was
And
on the
he's a
power
talent
play.
too. Yeah.
Mhm. And so now, interestingly, the guys out there on the PK when he scored were Sealer, Farabee, Drysdale, and Luchanko. But I feel like they were collapsed a little bit on
Okay.
that play.
All right.
But so there's something to learn from that. But I don't. But going back to goaltending, not Fedotov's fault. you
Right.
know.
Yeah, like I said, if people go back and listen to the interview I had with him a couple weeks ago, he shrugged off everything that happened last season. So none of that's going to affect him mentally this season. So
Hmm.
now it's just about getting reps, and I
Yeah.
think he'll get confidence from that.
Yeah, and then Bjarnason played the third period and did not allow a goal, and so that was good to see. It was a nice period for him. I think the Caps were kind of worn out at that
Oh,
point to
sure,
some
yeah.
degree,
I mean, they played
but
Lapierre on the top line. Like, I mean,
I
come on.
know we talked about him that he was a
Yeah,
tweener,
yeah, yeah.
but I think it was a good outing for both of the goaltenders in this
Hmm.
game. Overall, really good first game
Hmm.
for the Flyers overall. Good information. Let's move forward to the next game against Montreal. We are going to talk about what we want to see against Montreal tonight, as well as name our nemesis of the week because it is indeed Monday. And we will do that coming up next.
Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return of FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Yeah, I would take the Jets at home against the Broncos. I think that's a good bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com.
All right, so tonight against Montreal, I'm expecting them to put in the Couturier line
Hmm.
since they did not in this game. With Tyson Forster in tow there, and I think that I watched Couturier and Tyson Forster skate in the non-game group
Right.
on Sunday morning, and man, Tyson Forster took a knee in the skating drill at the end. He was just like completely done. You could just see some of the strategy going on. I'm hoping to see Oliver Bonk in this game as
Yeah.
well. I think that's going to be the key defensive prospect that I want to see how he does in this game. But yeah, I think Ryan Paling should probably get in
Right.
this one, and then Risto will probably get in this one,
Yeah,
and
this will
so I
be a
think
good test for Risto if they're playing
mhm,
Slavkovsky and/or Suzuki or Caulfield. It's a good test for Risto.
yeah, Risto was absolutely destroying Elliot Denoye in the two-on-two drills
I mean,
at
that's
camp.
expected.
I know, but it was just like I just felt so bad for
Yeah.
Denoye,
I mean,
just
this
like
is a tough
every
year for
single
him.
go.
He has not had a
Yeah,
great camp. He better pick it up. That's all I
I
could say.
know.
Like, it's a really tough year for him.
It really is, and Nick Delorier is like at it. He's scoring goals and getting
Yeah,
physical
yeah,
all
yeah.
over the place at camp. I think he's probably having the most fun of
Oh,
anybody out
sure.
there.
He
I
always
gotta say,
Nick Delorier never has a bad day in his life. He always has fun.
yeah. So I think we'll see who ends up in the lineup. If it's a similar number of bets to prospects ratio for game two, but I,
I
I
mean, it
do
would be
expect to see the
interesting if
Couturier line.
Yeah, it would be interesting if they played Michkov if they see that Montreal's playing like Jack and like I said, Slavkovsky and or Suzuki if he's going to match up against those guys because then that would be like more of a test than what he's been facing. But I don't expect him to go in though. I think they're going to rest him.
Yeah, but I do think Denoye will get in the lineup as
Yes.
well. Just like basically everybody who we didn't see in
Yeah,
the
they're gonna
Caps
get in.
game. A lot of them will get in. I don't know if there'll be any repeats. That'll be interesting, other than goaltending, perhaps.
Yeah,
If they
goaltending,
inverse
they
it
probably I could see them repeating the goaltending the way they did it. I think
or
that might be
reverse it and have
or
Bjarnason
reverse
play
it. Yeah,
2 periods and
yeah,
Fedotov
that's
play
true.
1 period.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
possible.
that's what they'll do, but, I think, I wanna see Oscar Eklund,
Yeah,
in a
he'll
similar
get in
reason
there.
for Rodrigo Abols. We'll see, yeah, I think that,
I mean, what are there 6 preseason games?
I think there's 7,
7. So,
but
Torts is only coaching the last 2, which means, by that 5th one, you're probably gonna start seeing the regular lineup.
yep, I think so. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting matchup tonight, and we'll talk about where we are overall after that game. Turning to our nemesis of the week. Last week was a really interesting nemesis segment.
Yeah.
Um, I talked a lot about, not really knowing what the Flyers have in mind and what they wanted to accomplish in training camp. I think I have a little bit of a better idea now. I think that, based on this, first of all, they've said it explicitly what the stated goals are in terms of upping the ante for everybody across the board, and integrating Michkov into the lineup obviously is a huge thing, which we did know about. But besides that, I was just kind of like, I don't know, like what's the plan here? But I feel like I have a better sense of that now. I'll know more after the next couple of days. But so luckily that nemesis did not last too long for me. Russ, you talked about Caitlin Clark getting
Mhm.
too much criticism. She was the unanimous rookie of the year in the WNBA. So I think you were vindicated
Yep.
a little bit there.
And
But
she wants to be a baseball broadcaster. Did you see that?
yes,
If I'm a
with the
network
Phillies.
if I'm a
I know.
network, bring her in. She knows her baseball. I've heard a little.
Yeah. Yeah, she did a pretty good job. I watched that video.
Yeah.
But I think for me this week it's going to be looking at the schedule of these preseason games, right? And what we have ahead this week. There's like a couple days off before the next game on Thursday. They have a day off Tuesday, and then they're back at it Wednesday. And then they got to face the Islanders, who I think, I know it's preseason, but the Islanders always seem to like step it up against the Flyers in these preseason matchups. I don't know what it is. It's weird. And I just I'm kind of dreading that game a lot later
Yeah,
this week.
because that may be a game where if you do play Mitchkov, you are gonna have to play Delorier because 'cause they'll probably put Matt Martin in, who's a PTO, and he's gonna try and
Yeah.
prove himself by having a fight with somebody or hitting somebody. And, like, because I saw well, you'll hear, I'll have my nemesis and you'll hear that, but that's what I would worry about.
Yeah. So I have another side nemesis about the New Jersey fan prices complaints, but do you have one?
I do. My nemesis is I was watching as I was in Pittsburgh, I was watching the Sabres, like, pretty much destroy the Penguins in a preseason game, right? But Jesse Puljujarvi had, like, a hat trick, and again, like, the Penguins social media account went crazy. "Oh, you got a hat trick," and, like, there's big red light and it's like, "Guys, nobody's gonna remember that he had a hat trick in a preseason game. Nobody." And I just, and it's a message. I thought the Flyers kind of handled their social media account good in the sense that, hey, Ole scored. Hey, Ole, great. That's fine. But these guys went overboard. And it's like, dear social media people, do not go overboard on preseason games that's mostly AHL talent. I'm sorry, because it's not going to age well. It's just not. Now, Puyarvi has a great season. You could look back on that and say something. But if he has like no goals in like 20 games, someone's pulling that up and tweeting that to the Penguins, so whatever. That's my nemesis.
Maybe. Well, that's a choice that they make. You have to remember the social media team is in the preseason too, and so maybe they're just getting warmed up for the regular
Maybe. That's
season.
funny. Yeah, yeah.
You got to practice those hat trick tweets
Maybe.
and videos and all of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the Fanatics jersey on sale or pre-sale was announced, and I think a lot of people were really uh, kind of losing it over the Authentics prices.
Yeah.
And I think like we have to remember the au- the Authentics are that for a reason. And they're going to be expensive because most people just don't buy them. Most people just buy the high end replicas.
Hmm.
And those are like a normal now they're still very expensive. And I think that's the price I want to complain about, right? Is like
You're not
the
gonna
high
okay.
end
But the
replicas.
only thing I'll say is, to be fair,
Like
we have
$230 for a regular jersey is a lot of money.
no, no, that's a lot. What we have to say about the authentics is we need to actually see them and sort of feel them, right? Because you saw what happened with
Mhm.
baseball. They had to
Yeah.
change all of their stuff from the beginning of the season. So we don't know, like, when the players are wearing this stuff, what's gonna happen. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that out of the conversation. 230 for replicas, it's a lot, man. It's just you're asking a lot of fans. You are
Yeah. It is a lot of money. I don't know if that's the exact price, but it's something right
something close to
around
that.
that close to that. And yeah, it's tough. It is really tough. Although a lot of people are spending money on jerseys. There were about like 11 Michkov jerseys at training camp at the
Yeah.
Flyers
See,
training
my
center
question would be,
on
like,
Saturday.
are the crests at least being sewn on, or are they being pressed on? Are they that's what I
Mm,
wanna see, or,
you
you
want
know
stone on.
I know, but what if they're taking cutting corners? I don't know. Like, I need to see them, like, in person.
Yeah, I think that is a big part of it. But yeah, I think we'll see how the authentics turn out in terms of quality. And I
Right.
certainly would not want to be buying one of those for that kind of money until I know the quality. That's for
Right, I
sure.
would definitely wait. Like, that's me, I would wait. I understand people are excited, you wanna get your Mitch Cuff jersey, go get it. But me personally, this is just my own opinion, I would wait, and I'd wanna see them in the store, and I'd wanna look them over. I
Yeah.
wanna look at the stitching, I wanna look at all that, I wanna look at the patches, I wanna see how all of it is. That's me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That will do it for today's show. Will be back tomorrow talking Flyers versus Habs and so much more from training camp. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. You can send us in mailbag questions on Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment over on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ, I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On NHL, where local experts keep you updated daily on all the biggest storylines ahead of the season. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great Monday, everyone.